What's going on, guys? I'm Tim Kelly. He's Anthony SanFilippo. This is Phillies Stoplight.
Brought to you by our good friends over at Wapner Newman, Philadelphia's personal injury attorneys.
Please remember to subscribe. We record new episodes at the end of every series. We're doing that today. Anthony will be with someone on Sunday after the series.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to do it by myself again.
I'll be headed to Seattle. So we are. I think we're covering every series the rest of the season.
Yes, we will be everywhere.
So
yes.
Crazy times. I feel a little reinvigorated by the Field of Dreams, and getting through those major events, everything kind of feels downhill after that.
Well, I think the Phillies feel a little invigorated after the Field of Dreams because they have not lost since going out and walking through the corn in Dyersville, Iowa. Tim, another sweep, back-to-back sweeps. They've won 6 in a row for the first time this season. And all of a sudden, they're back in the National League East race, only 4.5 games behind the slumping Atlanta Braves, who've lost 5 of 6. Phillies have made up all that ground in 6 days.
Yeah, and as crazy as it seems, if they got in position to win the NL East, it's not out of the question they could be one of the 2 buys in the first round, which, the Dodgers have had a terrible month. Kyle Tucker has, forgotten how to play baseball. So lots of different scenarios. I think until, the last few weeks, it's fun to debate them, but they're going to change so much that it's kind of whatever. I still think their most likely path is through that second wild card or the third wild card. But yeah, multiple times this year, certainly when they were 9-19, and even after they got off to such a cold start following the All-Star break, I kind of thought the chances of winning that third division in a row, it just wasn't going to happen. And it's in play at the very least heading into September. In 2007, they're 7 games back with 17 to go. They're 4.5 back now with 6 weeks
35 to go, yeah.
So
and 7 games against the Braves.
Yes.
So, if you win 5 of those, you're making up, most of this difference here. It's crazy that this is where they are right now, but hey, they're playing a good brand of baseball.
Yeah, and that 4-game wraparound series on Labor Day weekend is going to be fun, and then I'll be at the one in Atlanta after that. Those should be great series. I don't love that the Phillies haven't seen the Braves since April or May, but I do like that you have some of these matchups at the end of the season with divisional opponents that are going to mean something because, I like interleague play, but having the Rays at the last series of the season, having the Rangers at the first, that doesn't feel right. I think April and September should be much more divisional or at least league based, but you have those matchups. Anyway, the homegrown Phillies, who said the Phillies can't produce talent? In this series, Bryson Stott continued what's been just a remarkable second half. Offensively, he's been one of the best players in baseball, and perhaps even more impressive is what he's done at third base. He had 2 plays in the 9th inning on Tuesday that really helped them to secure a victory, and he's played so well at third base now that Dave Dombrowski said when they moved him there, he can play at third base, he can play shortstop. We don't envision this as a long-term thing. Maybe they should reconsider that. He's playing well enough, and I know people say shortstop's his natural position. I've always just kind of thought he's all right at shortstop. At second base, he's had very good moments, and now at third base, he's grading out better than he was at second base.
Yeah, he is. The one thing that I think you have to be careful with shifting him there is you kind of expect a little bit more production. Now, he's been great. He's been hitting, right? If he continues to do this, then yeah, maybe you could think about it. But I think long-term, usually you look at third base and you say, that's a position where you usually have a more productive hitter, somebody who could put the ball out of the ballpark a little bit. Maybe he's not as much as your first baseman, but in that same vein, right, is usually that guy. Bryson Stott's obviously not going to be a power hitter for the Phillies. But, if you're a guy that can get on base and hit close to 300 and have an OPS over or around 800, or even if it's just below, then yeah, you could get away with that as long as you're getting the power and production from elsewhere in the lineup. So he's been very good at third base. That wasn't the one that I was worried about, Tim. I kind of anticipated that Stott would be fine over there. You just kind of worried about the other, shifting around. He's just a very heady, high IQ baseball player.
Right, but I thought he'd be proficient. He's playing Gold Glove level third base since he looks like Scott Rowland at third base right now. He has 3 defensive runs saved in a really small period. And I know the metrics aren't perfect, but that is a ton to have already.
He's graduated from Pedro Feliz to Scott Rowland in your mind.
That was the last time you played to go.
The last time you talked about it, he was Pedro Feliz.
No, he's been amazing over there at third base. And I do think Not that like he still has to get to a point where he's consistent for 5 or 6 months offensively throughout the course of the season, but he's really made an impression, I think, on a lot of people. His not only his willingness to move, how he just doesn't seem flustered by having to pick it up. Like even with Harper, we hear about it's an adjustment. It is with Bohm, it's an adjustment. With Stott, his mindset all along has been, I just field it and throw it wherever I'm at. Like he does it, and I think that really stands out with him. And you're right. Usually you think of the third base as more of a power position, but if having him at third base potentially allows you to keep Luis Ariz long term, or I don't know what to make of Trey Turner. All of a sudden, he's been pretty sure-handed at shortstop. I think it's entirely possible if he plays like this the rest of the year, the Phillies are going to go, well, look what he did down the stretch. He'll stay at shortstop. But if they want to move him to another position, second base might be in play. So the fact that Stott can play this position, he can play second base. He can play shortstop. I don't know if that's the best spot for him, but it's an available spot if that's what they want to do. He's really given them a lot of flexibility to the point where they can build their infield and just kind of slot him in wherever they don't have a guy moving forward.
No, it's very valuable to have a player that's that versatile who can be in your lineup every day, regardless of the position.
Yeah,
and he like that. Like I look at Bryson Stott. Not that they would want to do this for any player, but if you needed to, Bryson Stott could be in your lineup every day, and you could say he could play second base one day, third base the next day, shortstop the next, and it wouldn't impact him.
Yeah.
Right. So like that kind of versatility is great
Yeah.
to have on your
Look
roster.
at how many of those guys the Dodgers have had. Kike Hernandez, Chris Taylor, like those type of guys.
Tommy Edman now.
Tommy Edman. They're winning players and they're crucial pieces. And Stott is not a super utility. Like I think he's a better player than some of those guys, although pretty good. Like Kike Hernandez in the playoffs is like Babe Ruth. But no, I mean, just very impressive from Bryson Stott. Also impressive from Aaron Nola, who now in 7 starts since the All-Star break has a 3.60 ERA. Tonight felt like an old school Aaron Nola start. He got a standing ovation coming off of the mound. And I'm not saying that Aaron Nola is all of a sudden going to take the ball in game 1 of a playoff series, but he had a 5.75 ERA in 19 starts after the first half of baseball. Since then, he's got a 3.60 ERA. The Phillies they have to be over the moon, not only for what it means this season, but for the fact that there's just not even a discussion now of, is this a sunk cost or anything? Like
he's not cooked.
Yeah, he was never going anywhere. And I'm not saying that this is sustainable necessarily, but he's clearly figuring out ways to pitch without being, I mean, he was never high velocity. He was more 94, 95. Now he's 91, 92, and he's making it work.
Yeah, you know what I think is something, obviously the changeup coming back into his regular mix has been, that has been the difference maker for him. Even better over his last 5 starts with an ERA of 2.51 over his last 5. But more so than that, I think it's the way that he's pitching. I was kind of tracking him on Baseball Savant today. And, if you remember earlier in the year and even last year, like the pitch that got hit the most for him was his cutter. And he would throw it a lot. Then he stopped throwing it for a while. He's kind of brought it back, but he's brought it back in certain spots. Like he's spotting it here and there. I think he ended up throwing 15 of them tonight, or 14 or 15 or something like that. So it's not like he's throwing it, 25% of the time, 30% of the time. He's only throwing it 15% of the time, but he's really used it the third time through. And that's where he was kind of getting guys, and he had 1 inning there in the 6th inning. He gives up the homer to Sanoha, then he gives up 2 singles, and you're thinking, okay, he might be, this might be the end. He fought out of that, and he strikes out the final batter of the 6th, so much so that Don Mattingly goes, put him back out there in the 7th, and he had a 1-2-3 7th inning. Now Brandon Marsh makes a nice catch to kind of help him out a little bit there, but still, Nola pitched great tonight, and it's to the point, Tim, where I think you look at it and say he's fine as your number 4 starter.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, when I say fine, it's not just like, oh, I accept it. It's he's fine enough that if you need him to start a game in the postseason, maybe you don't expect 7 innings out of Aaron Nola anymore, but can he give you 5 and keep you in the game? Probably.
It's maybe not he goes one time through the order thing. It's more he goes one time through the order and then you see after that.
Right. He might be able to stick in there a little bit longer.
Impressive stuff from him. And then Alec Bohm, who was dead in the water a week ago, he talked about the day he was off in St. Louis. He felt like he had a really good batting practice session. which is probably true. But I think the moment where it's really clicked for me is when that final or second to last at bat he had at the Field of Dreams. He crushed the ball. It should have been way out. That park played a little weird in left center. So it ended up just being a very long double. But since then, he's been on fire. He didn't have a big game tonight, but the first few games of the series, and obviously over the weekend in Minnesota, he did. Tuesday night, he had this play at first base where he catches the ball and happens to step right on first base. And it's the type of thing when things aren't going right for Alec Bohm, the ball would have kicked off his glove some weird way and ends up with the runner on third base or something. And instead, it's a double play. And I'm not going to get carried away about a week, but you are seeing now why the Phillies have opted to keep him in the lineup as opposed to putting in Brian De La Cruz more or Edmundo Sosa or Derek Hill more consistently, because when he gets going, he is the best hitter out of that group.
Yes, but it's important to say when he gets going.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are times when he's not. And look, like you said, he didn't have a great game today. He was 0 for 4. Stott was also 0 for 4 today. That's a rarity of late. Stott's usually on base at least once every game. So you're not going to kill him for going 0 for 4 in one game, especially the way he's been hitting lately. But you sit there and say, okay, now let's see how he responds to this one. Like I'm going to be curious to see how Alec Bohm looks on Friday against the Cardinals, because okay, he had a good run. He was feeling good about himself. Didn't have a great game. Does he let that bother him, right? Or does he flush it and then come back on Friday and he pitches a lot better or hits a lot better? So that's the thing that I'm going to be most interested to see, because like you said, I don't let one good week, or it's actually more than that if you really go back. I mean, we looked at the numbers, right? We were laughing at it the last time we did this in Minnesota, that I couldn't believe that he was hitting 333 since the All-Star break. So yeah, I mean, he's been good. But he's the guy that when it goes bad quick.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you got to hope that one bad game, not that it's a bad game, but it's just an over, that it doesn't start to spiral again.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, a guy that I think has had a very positive effect. I know there's this war every night to be like, this is why Luis Arraez has been on X number of teams, or he's not hitting the way. I think he's been good. I think he will be better. There have been no concerns about him at second base, which I think some people wondered about. What would that look like? He's been very good. And he just has like a positive energy that he brings. He homers tonight. He joked after the game in San Francisco that wouldn't have been a homer. That would have probably been a triple. Maybe it would have been an inside the park homer, the way it kicks in the triples alley there, but probably wouldn't have been a homer. He does have some pop, but he said when he got here that if he tried to hit homers, he'd be at home watching the game on his couch with the rest of us. So he's had a positive effect, though, in terms of what he's brought individually, but also what he's meant for Bryce Harper. I watched. Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but after Arraez homers, Harper celebrates with them. I think Bryce Harper really likes Luis Arraez, and that's important to note for now, and it's important to note for what they're going to do in the offseason. Harper has walked 25 times this month with Arraez hitting behind him. He hadn't walked more than 18 the entire rest of the season in a month. He's done it 25, and there's still a week plus of this month to go.
I'll throw one out at you for you, Tim. Just kind of weird stat, right? So you mentioned the 25 walks this month. In the last 15 games, he's walked 23 times. That ties a franchise record for a 15-game span.
Yeah.
That was originally set by Dolph Camilli in 1936. And then
Young
Dolph.
People that are my age will get that reference.
And then it's tied by Dave Hollins in 1995. Not since. Bryce Harper now 23 last. I think it's a 24 or 23 game on base streak as well. So yeah, it's look, he moved to right field for Luis Arraez. He's got Arraez batting behind him. He's an on base machine since Arraez has been here. You talk about the celebration. I think it's just a relief for Bryce Harper to know he has a guy that's going to hit behind him that can just go out there and get a hit.
Well, and he can pass the baton.
Yeah.
He can be Bobby Abreu.
Yes.
People used to get mad. Oh, Bobby Abreu walks. Like, it's good to get on base. And especially if you have a guy that's behind you that you can pass the baton to. He obviously wasn't comfortable doing that before. I think arguably, even if you don't have a guy, you should pass the baton. And if that guy doesn't come through, that's not on you. But naturally you're going to press more if you don't think the guy
Correct.
behind you can get a hit. He clearly does now with Luis Ariz, and I think the best version of Bryce Harper walks 110 times in a season. Like that, he's a guy teams are still scared to pitch to. The power will come, the doubles, the home runs, the extra base hits, those will come. But if they're going to let you on base, give it to them. Especially not only you have Ariz hitting behind you, but you have Stott, you have Bohm hitting right now. Like there's no reason. I see some people now saying like, "Oh, can they win with this version of Bryce Harper?" Yeah, if the guys behind him are hitting, yes, they can.
Yeah, and Brandon Marsh had 2 hits again tonight.
Yes.
By the way, he's starting to come back out of it after he went through a really rough stretch. So another 2 hits for him. Yeah, you're right. And I mean, the lineup gets so much longer thanks to Luis Ariz being in the middle of it. It's not your traditional lineup, and I know everybody wants to have a traditional. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It really doesn't matter. The most important thing is what we've been talking about: Bryce Harper's comfort level at the plate, and what he's willing to do. He's not chasing pitches. He's willing to be a teammate and not be a superhero. He doesn't need to be the showman.
Yeah.
Every at bat, right?
The lineup thing is so silly. You have guys getting on base, and you have a guy coming up afterwards that puts the ball in the grass. You're overthinking it if you're like panicking about, oh, he should actually be leading off or hitting second. Who cares? You have guys getting on base, and you have him hitting and Bohm hitting and a bunch of guys. It is working fine. There is no reason to mess with that. And quite honestly, I think there's going to be a real discussion, or there should be a real discussion about keeping him around. Now, that would mean Bryson Stott has to play another position. Bryce Harper's going to first base, almost certainly again after the season. So you'd have to maneuver things around. But one of the things Don Mattingly said a week or so ago that I meant to mention and haven't to this point is that Luis Ariz brings that energy, and it's kind of important on a team like this where you have a lot of guys that are even keel. Harper, Schwarber, Nola, Wheeler, that are pretty level, and it's good to be like that. But you also need some guys that are bringing that energy every day in a 162-game grind where you get to a different city at 2 a.m. and you got to play the next day at 6 o'clock at night that are kind of hyping you up and making it feel good. And I think sometimes they've lacked that. Rojas brought it the one year when they brought him up. Harrison Bader brought it last year, and I think Luis Ariz has brought it this year, and he's the best player of those 3.
Yeah, for sure. And while I'll throw one at you that we haven't even talked about yet, but I noticed it tonight in tonight's game. There was a play, runner at first, ground ball in the hole. Trey Turner fields the ball, and I feel like he was kind of stumbling as he came up. Still got the out at second, got the force at second. They couldn't turn the double play. And Luis Ariz was celebrating the fact that he made the first play.
Yeah.
Because you could see Turner almost look at himself like, oh, if I don't stumble, it's a double play. But Ariz was there to kind of tell him, hey, great play, good job. We got the lead runner.
Yeah.
Like that kind of stuff matters. It matters if you're beating yourself up sometimes for things, to have that guy there being a positive energy guy. It's really important.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now the Cardinals are going to come into town. This weird Phillies schedule continues of you play the team there on the road and then see them a week later at home and then not for the rest of the season. The Cardinals are 65-62. They're not completely out of the wild card race, but it's pretty unlikely. You have a chance to really bury them in this series, or at the very least, if they get hot, you'll have like tiebreakers and things of that nature over them, and or at least you won't. It won't be as bad as the situation you're in after how they played in St. Louis last week. The Cardinals have not announced any of their starters for this series so far, but the Phillies should be set up relatively well. Jesus Luzardo, 11-3, tied for 5th in WAR among all pitchers. He will pitch Friday. Saturday, Andrew Painter goes. He's got a 4.43 ERA since the All-Star break, which isn't great, but it's much better than where he was at. Yeah.
Right? 4.5 is quality start.
And then Christopher Sanchez is 16-4 with a 2.51 ERA. I don't think pitcher wins are a great stat, but I do think if you can win 20 games, that is an amazing accomplishment.
It's notable.
The fact that it's still probably less than likely, but the fact that he's got an opportunity to do that, I think, is meaningful, and I'm interested to see whether he can do it, and that is something I'll be tracking for the rest of the season with him.
No, absolutely, and you know, they owe the Cardinals a little bit because other than the one game that they lost, or I thought was a clunker. The other game, I felt like they left a lot to be desired. They should have won that series in St. Louis. They lost it. They had a character win the first game. That was the one.
Yes.
That was
They had no bullpen.
no bullpen,
Yeah.
right? That was Painter and then Ron Hell and Sugar, right? And he didn't even pitch.
Right. It was going to be Garrett
And
Stubbs.
I think
Bolin saved.
Bolin came in and got the save. Like that was a character win. And then the next night was the clunker. And then the one after that, they left 12 runs on base runners on base. They didn't get a key hit. So they kind of owe the Cardinals a little bit here. And they're obviously a better team than St. Louis. Tim, I think they keep this rolling. I really do. And it's really things could start to get a little bit exciting for the Phillies, especially if they come out of this series this weekend and do what they should do against the Cardinals. One last thing that we didn't mention yet today.
I was about to mention.
Oh, I didn't. Well, you were at the bottom of your list.
Yes, at the bottom of the list is Nestor Cortes, which the Phillies announced after the game today, which isn't normally how those things go. But they announced they've signed Nestor Cortes. He has been optioned to Single A. I would assume part of the contractual agreement was he's going to agree to be optioned. So he goes to Single A. He's coming back from an arm surgery. Seemingly must have looked good at the throwing session. I know there's some clips out there. It's hard to tell. I mean, we're not scouts from looking at him throw one or two pitches, how he looks. Obviously had a great season in 2022. Hasn't been great since then.
He was okay in 24.
Yeah, he's fine. I mean,
I'm saying he started 30 games and like a 3.66 ERA.
I would temper your expectations overall because he's coming back from an injury. You never know how that's going to go. And he just wasn't very good prior to the injury. So we'll see. He also realistically is probably not going to be able to build up more than 3 innings, I would think. Maybe a little more than that. But I look at him more as a piggyback guy and some insurance. If Andrew Painter just collapses again, or if you need to go to 6 men for a little bit, having a guy that can go 3 or 4 innings is better than just having a straight bullpen game. So Don Mattingly seemed a little hesitant when I asked him pregame about a 6-man, basically saying teams that do that are usually in a better situation in terms of wins banked than the Phillies are right now, that they're pretty sure they're going to get into the playoffs, which is true. But I think there have been times where Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, you feel like they could benefit maybe from an extra day because come playoffs, you're going to need them to be at 100%. You're going to need Luzardo, obviously, to be in that spot as well. So I think it can't hurt, but it's also these type of signings, sometimes the guy goes down there, they sign, and the first time they throw, they have an injury, and that's that, or they're just not effective. So we'll wait and see, but really can't lose anything.
No, you can't. And the one other thing to keep in mind is, in every year in the playoffs, you can go back to 22. I mean, you can find guys who kind of were on your roster in the postseason with the full intention of being your long guy, a guy that if you need a guy to go 3-4 innings, whatever the case might be, whether you're blowing a team out or you're getting blown out, and you don't want to burn your bullpen in a playoff game. No, they haven't had to have a guy do that. But they've had those guys on their roster. And you go back and look. I mean, Syndergaard was a little bit of that in 22. I know he had 2 starts in the playoffs, but he also was kind of that guy in the bullpen. Michael Lorenzen in 23.
Kyle Gibson
did it. But he did a couple of those. I mean, even Taijuan Walker last year and Walker Buehler last year. Those they were in the bullpen. So you kind of have to have those guys as well, and maybe Cortes kind of serves that purpose for you. And you see, I mean, you never know. I mean, there's still time, but not a lot of time, because I mean, the minor league season is going to be wrapping up soon, so he's got to ramp up as quick as he can. And then I guess if I had to guess, Tim, September 1st, when you get to call up 2 players, he's one of the 2 guys.
Yeah, he got a major league deal. Yeah. Like Walker Buehler last year got a minor league deal. I think with the understanding he was going to be called up, but this is a deal that pretty much guarantees at some point he's going to come up, and we'll see what his role is. But I mean, there's been guys, Matthew Boyd did it a few years ago with Cleveland, where he kind of resurrected his career just by making 4 or 5 appearances, got what at the time seemed like a really generous deal from the Cubs, and now has really outperformed it. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but you show a month of good, teams are so desperate for pitching that you show a month of good pitching and you could get a multi-year deal in the offseason. Now, this offseason will obviously be different and probably not fun, but we'll see what happens. I mean, Nestor Cortes obviously had some good years with the Yankees. So that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to subscribe. Thank you to Wapner Newman. We record new episodes at the end of every series, so make sure you check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, and we will talk to you guys next time.